So, by the end of this video, you'll be on your way to getting rich, and understanding how the top 0.1%, even 0.01% of the world are wealthy, and the lessons we can learn from them. So without wasting any more of your time, this is How to Get Rich in 2023. To begin with, you need to increase your earnings, make more money. And I know this sounds obvious, but just bear with me a minute, there is more to it. Anyone can tell you this, just make more money. I know it's easier said than done. However, it's actually a little easier than you think. All you need to do is reframe how you're asking that question. Instead of how do I make more money, ask yourself, what can I do to increase my value? And this is where what I learned, the 10% rule, comes in. The 10% rule, simply put, is this. Invest 10% of whatever you're earning back into yourself. This might be investing into your passion, maybe attending seminars or courses on whatever interests you or you're already good at. The effect of this rule is that in the long term, if you consistently invest 10% of your earnings into your education, you have unlimited return on investment, as you're constantly increasing your knowledge and skill set as you earn more and more, becoming more and more valuable. This is probably the most popular route besides the next part, as in your spare time you can watch or attend courses or seminars that will increase your knowledge in a given topic or topics to increase your value, therefore becoming more of an asset. And over time, you probably won't even notice the compound learning that you're doing. As you increase your knowledge in a given topic, you come to understand it easier and easier, without much more time or effort put into it. And on to that next part, side hustles. Now for most people, a side hustle is technically just investing your spare time and money into a business idea, basically. It's finding a way to monetize your hobbies or skills, and they'll probably be one and the same too. So really think about what you do in your spare time. Things you like to do or would like to do, and most likely, there's a way to monetize that. Or in other words, make it a business. Now it can be literally anything. Are you a gamer? Try streaming and building a personal brand. Maybe you're a competitive gamer and you could go pro in tournaments. Perhaps you're a cinema buff. Then you could be a film critic or reviewer. Maybe it's a culinary skill you possess. Then apply for work in that area. But what most people don't even realize is what knowledge or skill do you possess that you could teach? Share it on places like Skillshare or Teachable. Make an online course about it. The possibilities are endless. Now, the final step to increasing your earnings is pretty much what we're talking about with side hustles, but it's more for those that may have had a business idea for years, or if you think that your side hustle is more of a business than a side hustle. And that's not to sound confusing. You may not want to take the risk of quitting your job to start this business, so you start it on the side, but now it's finally working out and maybe even making more than you make from your job, which is amazing. So now you're ready to hand your notice in at work and go full-time on what was your side hustle, now your full-time job. But going back to the start, for those that may want to take the risk and have a solid plan of action for their business, even have some cash ready to invest in it, then what are you waiting for? Of course, you might want to talk to friends or family about it, or get some advice from anyone you may know that owns a business, or going down the route of financing or finding someone to help invest in your business, whether that be local business loans, grants, or whatever means you may want to go for. The point here is, if you're ready to take the risk, then go where you think is best. And good luck. Now, with any amount of money comes how you spend it, or not spend it. It doesn't matter if you earn 50k a year or 500k a year. If you live paycheck to paycheck, you'll continue to, even if you 10x your income. So what can you do to make sure you don't spend all of your money? This is where budgeting comes in. There are a number of variations you can choose from to budget accordingly depending on your income. You might already save 10 to 20% of your income, which is fantastic, and keep doing that. But taking into account other areas we can use our money, we have a number of options. If you're investing in yourself, like we went over at the beginning, You might be budgeting for 60% needs to 10 to 20% for investing in yourself and the rest for savings. Or maybe if you're a higher earner, then you might switch it up and invest up to 60% of your income and have 20% for your bills and save 10%. This is what I personally believe to be a great budgeting goal, as it forces you to live below your means and not fall for lifestyle inflation, which we'll get on into a minute. But instead, you can really grow your wealth and start investing in assets that increase your net worth and potentially pay dividends, whether that's literally in the stock market or with rental properties or potentially any other business ventures you may have, or maybe want to help other people by investing in them. And this is a page out of Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and what separates the average person from the wealthy, and what even separates the rich from the wealthy, by investing into assets and growing your net worth that pay you forever. Now, I mentioned lifestyle inflation, which ultimately just means subconsciously living up to the level of your income. It happens with almost everyone. We might get a raise and be able to afford that car on finance, or choose to eat at a more expensive restaurant because you can afford it. And this is a major factor that stops most people from growing wealth. But by properly budgeting and setting limits for yourself, you can make sure you only eat into a smaller portion of your income, and rest assured that you have other slices of your income saved and invested. I just wanted to sneak this piece in because I think it's invaluable. As far as I know, it was popularised by Tai Lopez, and I noticed some they might find his messages a bit iffy, but I think anyone that's put the time into finding out about him can't deny he's a great marketer, and I think this rule for networking is really powerful. This is the 33% rule, which is a method of breaking down time you spend with different groups of people. The first 33% are people you learn and grow with, most likely people you share a passion with, or work with. You learn together, grow together, and learn from each other's mistakes. The second group are people that you learn from. They might be mentors, people that you look up to, maybe you're fans of their work. Ideally, if you can learn directly from them, that's an immense opportunity, but being able to learn from those that are where you want to be is amazing. The third and final group are people that you can teach. This may be people you already know that are slightly younger than you, or maybe just starting out, but for most this is later on, once you have gained experience and you can pass on your knowledge to others, or even be a mentor. Now, if you're any good at maths, you'll see that there's 1% left, and some articles online will tell you to spend this time in certain places, but I personally believe you spend this time wherever you naturally land at, and whichever group of people you end up spending that extra 1% of time with from time to time. I really believe this rule is invaluable, and is arguably one of the most important rules to remember in your life, because your network really is your net worth, and managing how and who you spend your time with is important. So I mentioned investing in assets. I just wanted to cover the topic of assets and liabilities a bit more, and again, a big lesson from Robert Kiyosaki here. Simply put, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money from your pocket. So, the ins and outs of a business basically. But, how does this help us grow wealth? By understanding a balance sheet, we can understand what an asset gives us and what a liability takes from us. Here's an example. Your house. Whether you rent or have a mortgage, it's a liability, as it's costing you to live there. Now, if you own the home or your landlord lets you, you could maybe rent a room, or if it's a nice place, got some space, host events there, whatever. If you make enough to cover the mortgage or rent, you break even. If you make more than the rent or mortgage, you now have a profitable business. And the same applies to any other item in your life. Whether it be a house, car, boat, whatever. If you break even on the cost of owning it, you effectively own it for free. But what separates the wealthy is they invest in properties, companies, and any assets that pay for their lifestyle. Maybe you want that fancy car. Let the assets pay for it. Maybe you want a nice house. Buy it the wealthy way. Don't pay full in cash for the house. Take out a loan for the house, invest the cash so it's working for you, and pay off the mortgage with your assets, and live in your dream home for free. That is how the wealthy live. But it's not just how you use your money. Mindset is such a big part of what separates the wealthy. It doesn't matter how much you invest, save, or spend. If you have the wrong mindset, you're going to lose out. So, here are a few rules, tips, tricks, whatever you want to call it, to think about to help you in life in terms of productivity, time management, and just general life tips to help you in work and personal life. The 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle, is a theory that suggests that 80% of results come from 20% of the work. This generally applies to a lot of things in life. For example, 80% of sales come from 20% of clients. 80% of pollution originates from 20% of all factories. In marketing, 80% of reach is from 20% of content. But when it comes to time management and productivity, you can greatly improve your work life by analysing what parts of your work produce 80% of the results, and putting more time towards that 20%. Maybe you spend 20% of your time on client acquisition, but it produces 80% of your income. Therefore, you can put more time into that. Next is a theory that work expands to fill the time given to complete the task. This is Parkinson's law, and this is a slightly subconscious thing to a lot of people as well, especially for those that naturally leave things until the last minute. If you've ever had days, weeks, or even months to complete a task, you typically let it take up maybe 80% of that time. Again, going back to the 80-20 rule there. Even if you're not that well organised, you probably time block and organise your days around these lengthy tasks. But instead, what you should do is first work out how long this should realistically take you to complete. The chances are it won't take you as long as you have to complete it. So, once you've narrowed down the time, you can add other high-value tasks to your calendar. Now, a second part of solving Parkinson's law can lead us into what's called Hofstadter's law, which states that a task takes longer than expected even when taking into account this law. So how can you prevent this from happening? We can do an estimate to see how long it'll take us to do the first time, just doubling your first guess and adding 15 minutes. In most cases, when we finish the task, we'll still be wrong. But then, we can use our estimate and divide that by the actual time the task took to complete. This gives us a multiplier of how long it takes to complete the task. So for example, a presentation took 1.4 times as long as expected. The admin took 1.5 times as long as expected. This can really help with allocating time to certain tasks in our week, which leads to a much more efficient work life. So great, you've got an efficient calendar for your work week, but you're still distracted whilst working and your phone keeps buzzing away. So hopefully, these will help with that. Here are a couple of amazing notes from Atomic Habits. The first is to separate your environments, so try to have a space for leisure, a space for work, and a space to sleep. This is known to help keep our mind clearer and generally stay more focused. If we're trying to sleep at night but we're surrounded by our work, that's not going to help us sleep. The same if we're working in our living room. We might work from our couch, which means we then maybe have the TV on in the background, which causes us to then lose focus. So even if you don't have a spare room to work in, try to create a space in your kitchen, in a corner of your bedroom, or anywhere that you can organise a tidy setup that is away from distractions. And leading a bit further into distractions is look at what's around you. What's nearby that typically grabs your attention? What might you fidget with or cause you to lose focus? Most likely, your phone. Everyone puts their phone on their desk and lets it buzz away. They immediately pick it up to check the notifications. A good tip here is to put your phone on silent and face down whilst you're working, so you can't see any distractions or hear it. If the vibration still distracts you, try putting your phone on a soft surface and out of sight. That way you won't even feel a vibration of a notification until you have the chance to check it. My last two tips are these. Going back to efficiency with tasks, think about what points in the day do you prefer doing the softer work versus the harder work. And by this, I mean, do you find it easier doing emails first thing in the morning or last thing in the day? When you discover what works best for you, you can really start to fine-tune your mind best for productivity. Let's say you find it easier to get the harder tasks done in the morning and save emails and admin for later in the day. If you plan your work for your version of that, you can set yourself up for a really productive day. And finally, to be as efficient as possible in your day, you need breaks. In fact, typically every 30 to 60 minutes. For you, it might be a bit more or a bit less. In fact, a few sources show that working for around an hour on average is best, followed by a small break of just 5 minutes. So it might take a tiny bit longer to complete a task, but the time you're actually working on it will be as close to 100% focus as possible. So try setting a timer. Work for just 30 minutes, then rest for 5. Or maybe that's not long enough to get anything done. Try 50 minutes and a 5-minute break. You'll really notice the difference. So that about sums everything up. I really hope this information serves you well. Let me know in the comments how you're doing, and hopefully you can take it on and live a productive life and begin to grow your wealth. If you found anything in this video helpful, please smash that like button, and for more videos like this, definitely consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching.